50 games, Isabel. I don't have the numbers, but I'm thinking it's like 5 or 6 people. That's all that's made of the 50 before for Adelaide United. What does it mean to you to be in such a small group?
Yeah, I think it's super exciting. It's always an honour to play for the club, and to have the opportunity to play 50 times is pretty exciting, and I'm really looking forward to the weekend.
Especially because the seasons are so short. 50 is not a small number in women's football, is it?
No, when you think about 14 games a season, it's quite a long time. But yeah, it's always good to get out and play, and some consistent seasons behind your belt, and I've gotten to that 50.
What, do you feel old now? Or?
I know, a little bit like that, isn't it, when you think about 50 games? But yeah, I guess I am one of the oldest on the team, so it makes sense to reach it before some of the other girls.
What about just the differences between when you started playing, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years ago to now? What do you notice different about the club and the way it goes about things?
Yeah, well, the biggest difference is when I first started, the league or the club wasn't professional. So there's obviously a huge change between a professional league and a non-professional league. So that's obviously up the ante. Yeah, obviously it's professional, and then as a club ourselves, we are now looking to make finals and win the league. Back 8 years ago, we were really struggling to be competitive, so that's probably the biggest difference that I see.
So you're up against a team this week that has only just come into the league. They haven't won yet. You look at the goals for and against, and they're not having the best of seasons so far. How do you make sure that you as a captain prepare your team to play properly, knowing full well what the position that they have been in, because you've been in that position?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about teams who are struggling this season is they have nothing to lose. So they can go into every game knowing that they can put everything out there and they've got really nothing to lose. But I think as a team we know that their results maybe don't justify how they've been playing. Last week they were up 2-0 to Brisbane Roar, who are a great team. So it's very easily, it's an easily winnable game, but it could easily get out of hand if we're not focused. So I think everyone in the team knows that, and we want to go out and put on a show, especially at Coopers, and we definitely want those 3 points.
Do you remember those times, like back then when the coin was flipped and people were coming up against Adelaide, looking at Adelaide on the bottom of the ladder? Like, what was the mentality like for you guys playing as that team that's down the bottom with nothing to lose? What do you talk about pre-game? What's the mood like?
Yeah, I think it's easy to be the underdogs. It's easy to go into the games knowing that you can just give it your all and it doesn't really matter. You're not going to make finals. There isn't anything there. And I think when we were there, we were losing games, but every now and then would beat teams who would come into games thinking that they have it. So I've done that as an underdog, so I want to make sure that doesn't happen to us now that we're in a better position.
In the scheme of the season, how important is it for 3 points this week?
Very important. If we want to stay in the top 4, it's halfway through the season as well. So to get halfway through the season and be in the position that we want is very important. And games like this are the games we 100% need 3 points. Especially last week after not getting even a point against a top team. We really need to turn it around and make sure we're staying in the position that we want on the ladder.
Standalone game at Coopers, the blokes after you. What are you expecting? You think that the people will come out and watch? I
think so. I think we usually bring a good crowd, especially at Coopers. It's a good atmosphere. And it's a Friday night game, so nice under the lights and all of that. So I think it'll be a great atmosphere for fans to come out and watch.
And for you, we've gone 45, 60 minutes. How many minutes this week?
I'm playing the whole game, hopefully. No.
Directive or the doctors direct?
Doctors cleared me, so that means I'll be playing as much as I can. And for my 50th game, I want to give it my all and play as well and as long as I possibly can.
Nice. I might just jump in. But what's the kind of one area that you feel like the team needs to do to get those 3 points?
I think it's just consistency for 90 minutes. Last week, our first 45 was outstanding. We know that as a team, we played really well. And we know we dropped off in the second half. I think what's important for us is to play for 90 minutes. And when we have a good run of play, to put goals away. We struggled with that last week. Melbourne City are a good team, and if you give them an opportunity, they are going to score goals. So for us, consistency for 90 minutes, if we play at our best, I think we can beat any team.
And just lastly, what do you think Wellington's biggest threats are?
Because they're so young, they're a little bit unpredictable in how they play, but they've got a couple of really good forwards. And from what I've noticed, their wing backs are quite strong as well. So they've got some strengths in places, and because they're so young, they've just got that fire in their belly, which sometimes is hard to defend.